So there I was, blade in hand, circling around my opponent. And just as they jumped at me with a blade at my skull, I dodged deftly and deflected the rain of blows, and just as I saw an opening, I raised my sword, and I... What? What do you mean what's going on? We're in the middle of the fight I was just telling you about? Wait. What was the last thing I said? Oh, you gotta be kidding me. That far back? Jeez, sorry. I'm telling this story to like 3 or 4 people right now, and it's kind of hard to keep track. Okay, so the last thing was Dalaran catapulting us into the sky. Okay, all right, got it. We're back on track. So, right, Dalaran was no slouch when it came to flight. We weren't just going fast. My ponytail was hitting Edith right in the face. Much to her annoyance. I held on to Iron tightly as she gripped my hook around her waist to ensure I didn't fall. You know, for a girl that didn't want me to touch her, she sure didn't mind keeping me in place.
Ah! Sander, I've told you 100 times to cut your hair.
Can we please argue about this on solid ground?
How much further? I don't mind being up here by any means, but if Xander vomits, it's going to hit the tallest one of us right in the face. And I'm 6'4", by the way.
Have patience, we're nearly there! It's not like a road with twists and turns, we're flying in a straight path toward the goal. And this can't be any worse than being in a carriage for hours on end.
What an interesting group you found yourself, Princess. Are you sure these humans are up to the task to finish the job?
It may not seem like it, but yes. We've gotten this far together after all.
Very well. But it's unusual to have humans in Elorium. You'll get very odd looks once in the streets.
I'm well aware of that, but so be it. Hey, you 3, shield your eyes. We're about to cross through the veil and it can make you very sick.
I'm already fucking sick!
What the? Hey, quit shielding your face with my cape.
Absolutely not. Kill me if you must.
Yazul Raha, Etherito Vanika.
And that was our cue. We shielded our eyes and rushed into the room more intense than ever before. Dalaran soared through the veil and a magical flash rang through our ears, and then suddenly, the wind was gone. It was as if Dalaran slowed to a halt. Only the gentle flapping of his wings were heard.
We're here.
I opened my eyes into the blue sky and saw... How do I even possibly describe this in a single word? Or even 1,000? I'll do my best. I saw fucking Elorium. You have not known true beauty until you've seen Elorium. It was a grand floating city upon a cloud, blocked by the biggest tree I have ever seen, standing right in the middle of it, its leaves blocking the brunt of the sun. But the leaves were this gorgeous shade of lavender. The city was so full of wonder and life and elegance that if you saw it and it didn't take your breath away, you should just consider yourself dead. But the true beauty of Elorium was beyond the tree. Streets of stone paved neatly with shops and stalls of dragons calling out to one another for attention, trying to make a sale. They all seemed so cordial to each other. They all adorned stones and string around them as if that were clothing.
Holy shit.
Normally I'd tell you to find a more civilized means of communications, but in this case, holy shit indeed.
Finally home. Thank heavens.
Allow me to notify Grigori in your presence.
Who's that? Just as I said that, the sky darkened and the sun disappeared, leaving us in a massive patch of shade. I looked up to see a massive red dragon. This thing was nearly as big as the city. It was the most intimidating sight to behold I'd ever beheld. One flap of his wings and he could have caused a hurricane to put in the force behind it.
That is Grigori.
My goodness. He has grown quite a bit, hasn't he?
Don't tell him that. It'll go to his head. Grigori!
Grigori looked down and lowered himself to our level, and seeing this thing up close was scary. But if you can believe it, when you saw his face, you saw the face of what was just a preposterously large puppy. Looking at his giant eyes, you couldn't have found a single shred of malice or violence in the tribe. It was, in a weird way, kinda cute.
Read my memory and convey that to Eliott, if you please.
Grigori's eyes glowed and flashed for a brief moment and then nodded his head. He turned around and his eyes glowed again at the city, and then every pair of eyes in the city flashed gold for a second, and then they all looked at us. Literally one of the creepiest feelings imaginable. It was like an entire city of glowy-eyed dragons looking at us. Okay, shit analogy, but there's nothing comparable to this. It was weird, okay? Grigori flapped off into the sky once again, and Dalsvigard began his ascent onto the landing of the city. We finally hit the ground, and everyone shook. I took a deep breath, deciding that, hey, I wasn't dead. I looked at the buildings around us, all made of beautifully carved stone, adorned with precious metals such as rubies, sapphires, and gold. Lots of gold. Dalsvigard shook like a dog, and we all fell off and hit the ground. We groaned, getting to our feet.
Oh, my apologies. It's a habit.
Don't mention it.
Honestly, Dalsvigard, a little restraint.
At least we're still on solid ground. The city isn't gonna fall, right?
Oh, please, Sergeant. That's a ridiculous question. It is a ridiculous question, right?
An absolutely ridiculous question. It's held up by the magic of dragons everywhere. It's a conduit of magical energies, and as long as one dragon lives, Elorium will remain in the sky for all eternity.
So, is everyone just gonna keep staring at us? The three of them looked forward and noticed the entire city was looking at us. The moment Iron looked, they all immediately looked away, pretending they were doing no such thing. Iron sighed and then walked forward. She stopped when she heard panting. She blinked and looked down. We did the same. It was a puppy-sized dragon. Its big tongue sticking out, panting, looking up at Iron with wonder, its giant yellow eyes and big black pupils trained on her.
What? Ignorak! What are you doing away from home?
She bent down and picked up the tiny dragon and pet him on the head, and he nuzzled into her gently. She smiled and giggled, holding the admittedly cute dragon. She turned to face us once again.
Everyone, this is Ignorak. He's a fey dragon.
Fey dragon? There's not just one kind of dragon?
That's racist, Alexander.
What's a fey dragon?
Fey dragons are an extremely rare breed. Small, curious little creatures in the shape of dragons, but they never get very big. They're pacifists by nature, and very silly and loving. Much like your canines. Ignorak has been a friend of mine for a very long time. He always looks for me when I leave. I'd forgotten that he could have been waiting for me here. Poor thing.
He's actually pretty cute.
You could pet him, if you like. That's how you get on his good side.
Really? Alright, why not? I reached out and patted the little guy on the head. His turquoise scales were beautiful. He looked over at me with curiosity and adoration. Okay, I had completely fallen in love with the dragon. Ignorak, not Iron. As if. But this little guy was so cute! Until he burped and fire came out and I jumped back.
Ignorak! I told you not to eat the star leaves. It gives you indigestion.
Ignorak whined. It was clear he understood language, but he didn't seem like he could speak it. Iron set him down and he looked up at her again.
No. Go on. Go play. I need to go talk to my father. And don't cause any trouble, okay?
He nodded quickly and ran off along the city streets. And it was at that moment we noticed everyone was still looking at us. Irene began walking forward again. We followed her cautiously. The people of Elorium looked at her quizzically, but not with disrespect. I'd assume to feel the same way if we saw the Princess of Vespera walking through the streets as a dragon, so it's not like their curiosity was misplaced or unwelcome. Still, it was unsettling, because if Irene ever turned to look at them, they bowed their head graciously to her and continued walking in whichever direction they were already headed. Irene was visibly uncomfortable being seen as a freak show. She already got an uncomfortable amount of eyes on her before this. This was overkill. So what exactly do they sell? The vendors. What are they selling?
It makes sense you'd be curious. They sell fruits, same as your vendors. However, our fruits are from the Star Tree.
Star Tree?
You must have seen it! We're under its leaves right now.
I looked up, enamored in the soft colors of the tree. It was too big to ignore. Elorium was easily the size of all of Vespera, if not bigger, and this tree was big enough to color all of that? Insane, really.
How long has it been since you'd seen your father? You've been traveling with us for months at this point. How long has it been?
Well, we stayed in Sanderstill for 5.5 months. It was spring when we first arrived.
I had a fight with him before I left home. I flew through the forests to clear my head. Looking back, it was an incredibly silly fight. And if I had just simply done as he'd requested, we wouldn't be in this mess.
What did he want you to do? Clean your room?
He asked me to attend a meeting in his place. He delegated such things to me in the past and had me speak for him on multiple occasions, half because he couldn't do it, and half because I could get the practice in dealing with the populace. He didn't listen to me when I told him that I had other things to do that day.
Sounds to me that you just wanted to take a nap.
What did I tell you about talking under your breath?
Sorry.
Where is the king anyway?
The Star Tree. It's hollow, so we use the inside to make multiple floors and use them for classes and meetings in the High Council.
High Council? Is it called that because the council decides things for the entire city?
No. It's because it's on the top floor.
I wish we could have some time to explore before we make it to the keep. I've always wanted to see what the city has to offer.
Can't say I disagree. First time visiting a city in the sky.
You just want to walk to the edge and spit over it.
You know me so well.
Very well. We could do with some leisure time.
Huh? You serious?
But of course. We've already made it so far. What's another hour? Besides, I want to check on something. Go ahead. Do as you please. We can meet back on the front steps of the Star Tree in an hour.
Phineas took no time walking away and ogling the architecture and the architects themselves. Edith shrugged and decided to follow Phineas. Ever since that fight with Terra, they'd grown closer. I wonder if it's because they finally learned to rely on each other. Irene walked away from me in the opposite direction. I was left there standing like an idiot. Several dragons looked at me curiously, and while their gazes seemed relatively harmless, I couldn't shake the unwelcome feeling. I decided perhaps traveling the city with the girl that knew it best was the best thing I could do. I jogged after Irene and patted her shoulder. She turned and furrowed her brow.
And why are you following me? I'm home, remember? You don't need to protect me here.
Remember when we were in Sanderstill and you got scared?
I wasn't scared.
Right, but you remember, right?
I wasn't scared!
Irene, you held my hand and looked down so hard, I would have thought that there was a book on the floor.
What about it? Why do you ask?
You know how you definitely weren't scared?
Yes, of course! Why?
I'm also, not scared.
I see. That's unfortunate. Well, best of luck.
What? Hey, wait!
If you must follow me around like a lost little canine, then you may do so. But stay behind me.
As you wish.
And keep your eyes above my waist.
One time, I look one time and she doesn't let it go.
Ira navigated through the winding paths with grace and familiarity like I'd never seen anyone move. I knew she'd been doing this for a while, but she knew this city better than I knew my own house. I did as she asked, being glued behind her. The dragons she passed regarded her with a deep respect that was simply foreign. Not even the princess of our kingdom would get bowed to that vigorously. It's like if they didn't do it there were severe consequences, but I could tell no one feared her. They simply highly respected her. I could tell it bothered her, though. She'd even greet some of them in a friendly nature, but they would simply bow to her and say nothing. She sighed and continued walking. We walked along a stone path from the buildings until we came to an opening between two bushes. The bushes were adorned in pretty little flowers. At least I thought they were pretty until I walked past the bushes and saw a beautiful little garden overlooking the sky. The gorgeous blue sky in front of us and the clouds below us as flowers swayed gently in the soft breeze. I was taken aback by the unexpected array of beauty that I had found. Then I looked at Iron and saw a warm, childlike grin spread across her face.
I'm sure you wondered why I liked gardening so much down there. It's because I did it so much up here when I was young. Although, admittedly, it's much easier now than it was then. But I think for having massive claws, I did a serviceable job, don't you think?
Are you kidding? This is amazing, Iron. These are gorgeous. I've never even seen some of these before.
Yes, I take great pride in that. Rare flowers not seen in the human realms. What do you think about those ones over there?
The purple ones? They're beautiful, but what are they?
That's my favorite flower. It's known as Ferota's flower.
Pretty name. What does it represent?
My mother. I never met her, but Father told me that she adored gardening. It was the most gentle dragon he'd ever known, and took great care of the greenery in Allorium. Her name was Ferota, and after years of experimentation and admittedly a teensy bit of magic, she created her very own flower. It's proof of her legacy. And the only thing I have of her.
Guess you and I have that in common. Never met Mom.
Yes, you mentioned that. You can tell me more about her, if you wish.
You seriously care?
I do. I did. I was just angry and hurt. I lashed out when I shouldn't have. But we've been traveling for some time and I never truly asked you about your life. And I mean truly asked. Not for just some passing activity over a fire.
Well, I can't lie to you. I know enough to confirm I had one, but I don't know anything about her. All I heard from my dad is she was a prostitute. He met drunk one night and they, and then a few months later, she came banging on his door, yelling at him that she was pregnant. They fought for months up until my birth. When my mom gave birth to me due to complications, she died right after I came out. Exhaustion and pain, they said. After that, Dad took me in because he didn't want to look like an asshole, handing me over to an orphanage, and he stayed drunk my entire childhood. Only time he actively treated me well was when he told me stories. That's about it.
I see. That must have sucked.
You've been hanging around humans too long. You're picking up on the lingo. Yeah, it did. It did suck. Never even told me he loved me, and I don't think she said it either as far as he was aware.
He was always angry.
He didn't strike you at all, did he?
No. I mean, he got mad and smacked me in the back of the head when I was being bratty, but never aggressively hard. Other than that, no. He didn't touch me much. No hugs, no head pats, nothing. Just made me feel like a burden. Sorry, I realize you asked about my mom, but I don't know anything. Only what I've been told. No one I've ever met has told me a thing about her. Because what's to say?
I understand. It sounds painful. I'm truly sorry.
We were silent for a few moments, sitting on the grass in front of the flowers, looking into the sky in front of us. She cleared her throat.
For what it's worth, your childhood seemed to doom you to fail for the remainder of your time on this world. It seems you defied fate and became slightly less useless.
Slightly.
Slightly.
Say what you want, but at least I'm a great sword fighter, and I stick to my roots.
This again. Though there is something to be said about swinging around a 10-pound sword with one hand after sustaining a frightening injury.
See? You agree? I am the master of this sword.
About that.
Iron stood up and faced me. I stood up as well, figuring she wanted me to. She pointed at Alistair on my back.
Hand the sword to me.
What? Why?
Do you trust me?
Well, you did save my life.
Exactly. So come on.
Okay, here you go. What's this about?
I want to show you something.
Iron raised the sword and looked out into the sky. She reared it back and threw it outward toward the edge like a boomerang. My eyes shot open and my jaw dropped.
What the fuck was that for?
Keep watching.
The last time I watched you do something, you trashed a priceless sword!
Keep your voice down and pay attention.
Iron raised her hand again, and I heard a whirring sound. I looked over to see Alistair whirling back around and flew right into Iron's hand. She caught it and lowered the blade, facing me. I called it a boomerang just now, and God said, you know what'd be funny? Iron looked at me, showing me the blade. The rune that was etched into it was lit up. I blinked.
I'm sure you think I'm an idiot for asking this, but what just happened?
I think you're an idiot, but not because of the question. Alistair is no mere blade. It's a rune blade.
A blade with a rune in it?
Anyone can etch a simple rune into metal or stone, even a perfect etching of a magic one. But it takes an actual magic spell to imbue a sword or object with magical properties. People in different cities used to do it a lot. Magical tables, chairs, brooms, anything to make their homes a bit more convenient. However, rune blades grew in popularity and became the true carriers of magic.
And Alistair has magic in it?
Much of it, yes. However, the connection is flawed. Rune blades typically respond to anyone, but this one only responds to a magical soul. That means I can activate its magic, but you cannot.
What? That sucks.
Indeed. Which is why I believe I should use this sword from now on.
What? But
Alexander, the sword responds to my touch far more than yours, and you only have one hand. You can't wield it without the use of rest calm, and we cannot count on it being that intense every time.
then what the hell am I gonna use?
We'll find you a nice dagger to use. There's plenty of amazing craftsmen in Alorium. Or perhaps that hook of yours.
So I'm useless.
I don't want to use that word. But without your hand, your use in battle has diminished a bit. I'm not trying to be cruel, But if we rely on you in battle, it could end badly for you.
But I came on this mission to actually contribute. I was just starting to fit in.
Alexander, listen to me. What you did for me, the sacrifice you made for my sake, that is not something I take lightly. But that is a sacrifice I do not want you to make. And if I'm the princess, if you're willing to do that much for me, the least you can do is honor my request. Did you honestly even consider how I'd feel if you actually died? How Edith would feel?
I guess not.
This sword is mine now. And not because I want to hurt your feelings. Though I understand that's most likely what I've done. But once this journey is over, and I'm a dragon again, I will return it to you. And maybe then you can sell it, or keep it as a memento of the journey, if that's what you're into.
I looked outward toward the sky inside. My whole life I wanted to be a hero, and the moment I get my hands on a sword to help me do just that, I get my hand chopped off and the sword taken by the girl I'm actively trying to protect. I felt like a failure. Still, it was this or be planning Edith's funeral. Even back then, I preferred this. Yeah. Thanks
For what?
for thinking of my life when I didn't.
I see. Ignore. You're welcome.
Did you?
Just for that. Nothing else. Because I have a feeling it'll continue to be a problem. So you'd better keep thanking me for it.
Yeah, of course.
Anyway, we should get back. As much as I'd like to stay here and admire my beautiful work, there is the matter of the journey, and it's only halfway finished. We got to Alorium, but now we need to ask my father what our final destination is. I just hope it goes well.
Why? What could go wrong? What?
I know this is going to sound weird, but listen carefully. When he asks you whose fault it is, say nothing.
But it is my... Would he kill me?
I'm afraid it's a fate worse than death, Alexander.
You're cooking?
Pipe it.
I have expected Edith and Phineas to find us a half hour later than usual with a party hat, t-shirt, and a prize, but they showed up just a tad bit later than scheduled, looking calm as ever. Calmer than I'd ever seen them, actually.
And where exactly have you two been? You're late.
We, found a friendly dragon. He gave us some stuff, said to inhale it. So we did.
We are on a floating city. We're like flying, if you think about it.
Dude, we're floating, not flying, dumbass.
Oh, God! Was the dragon's name Uranus?
Yes, that was his name. Can we take a nap?
Those clouds sure look soft. I wonder what they taste like.
For the love of... Okay. We need to make you sober quick. And lucky for you, I know a trick. Lower your head, look directly at your feet, and put your arms tightly at your sides like you're squeezing your hips together.
They both bent down and did exactly as she said. I watched intently, wanting to know this trick if I ever got drunk.
Like this?
Just like that. Now inhale, exhale, and then count to 5.
1.
Irid lashed out with both hands and slapped him on the back of the head with immense force. They both shot up, covering the back of their heads, grimacing.
Ow! Ugh, that hurt!
You are so violent, I swear.
You absolute idiots! You're in a foreign city, and the first thing you decide to do is smoke some unknown substance handed to you by a random dragon.
It wasn't the first thing, it was like the third.
If you have any leftover high, tell me now. I've got 1,000 more where that came from.
Nope, I think I'm good.
Wonderful! Then follow me. We really need to get this out of the way.
Toward the center of the city, we followed Iron toward the front steps going into the tree. After a few seconds of walking, Ignorak came back into the fray, this time holding a strangely shaped stick. He sat it down in front of us, his long whip-like tail wagging. He really was like a dog.
Ignorak, honestly, I would love to play with you, but we just don't have the time. I promise, when we come back home, I will play with you as much as you like.
His brows furrowed downward and he lowered his head. I felt so bad for him. He turned away and walked away slowly. Iron sighed.
Ignorak, come back.
He turned to face us and trotted over to us quickly. Iron picked him up and put him in Phineas's backpack.
What on earth? Do I look like a dragon sitter?
Relax. You can take him out of your bag when we get closer to the steps. His home's really close to there.
He's not exactly light. He's easily 10 pounds.
Well then, some extra weight should help you develop some muscles.
We walked to the center of the city near the front steps. Iron stopped us. She picked Ignorak out of Phineas's bag and he gripped onto the bag with his hands, not wanting to leave it. Apparently it was cozy in there. He eventually relented, his arms dropping. Iron set him on the ground and shooed him away. Ignorak groaned, walked away in a huff. We smiled, even Phineas seemed to crack a smirk. Iron walked us to the front steps, and we could see a line of dragons awaiting us at the top. All shapes and sizes and colors staring at us. The one in the middle looked particularly regal. He was a red dragon, but his scales turned black near his paws on all four sides. His horns were perfectly straight and back and outward. He had his head turned up and his eyes looking down at us. Dragons were expressive creatures, so this one's face looked... How should I put this? Douchey. I mean, he looked absolutely condescending at us. His brows were furrowed with a frown across his face. He definitely didn't care for the sight of us. The other dragons bowed graciously as we approached, but this one didn't. Something about him told me that he didn't quite have to bow. Iron signaled us to stay back once we got within 15 feet of him. He was larger than Iron was when she was a dragon, but not by an insane margin. It was definitely easy to tell, though. She approached him and bowed herself. I furrowed my brow. Why was the princess bowing to this guy? Surely he wasn't the king.
Greetings, Revelio. I apologize for my absence.
Princess Iron, welcome back to your true home. Goodness, they told me you were hideous, but this has destroyed my expectations. Oh.
The three of us narrowed our gaze at him. What a jerk! Who was this clown?
Yes, I am sorry for my appearance. I do plan to revert back to my normal form soon enough.
See that you do. I cannot have my future bride looking so revolting.
What? Future bride?
I suppose now's as good a time as any.
Iron turned around and faced us.
Edith, Phineas, Alexander. Meet my fiancé, Revelio.
Fiance? This chick was on the cusp of getting married? And to this guy? He was a total ass!
Humans in Elorium. I never thought I'd have to see the day. How unfortunate. Well, in any case, I suppose I should grant you a modicum of thanks for your work thus far. But you were also granted the blessing to accompany your princess, so I suppose you should be thanking us.
Yeah, thanks for being such an asshole to your princess that she ran away from home just for some peace and quiet. Iron groaned and looked away. From that reaction, she was dreading me opening my fat mouth, but I mean, did you hear what he said? Revelio slowly turned to me and smiled.
Oh, why, you wound me, human. Princess Irene is, of course, allowing short recesses from time to time to collect her thoughts before her next labor. It is in her nature to require a short reprieve after so much work, of course. However, she is our princess, and a busy one at that. So that much work is only natural for royalty.
Still haven't explained the asshole part.
Your insults bounce off me like little pebbles. Your opinions of me don't faze me in the slightest. Your opinion of me would be akin to an angry little ant having an intense disdain for you. A small, insignificant life, far less intelligent than you disliking you. And that opinionated mind could be squashed with the raise and lower of your foot upon him. And just as a reminder, I could easily do the same to you.
What, chip a nail, you big pansy?
Alexander!
Don't you require a young woman to use your sword for you? Are you sure that you should be throwing any accusations of cowardice at anyone?
Revelio!
I think they like each other.
They're practically brothers.
You are not helping, either of you. Revelio, please, we need to speak to my father. We require his wisdom if we are to return me to my original form.
The king has been anticipating your return for some time now. You've kept him waiting quite long enough.
Not by design, I assure you.
Forgive me, princess, I don't mean to judge. I simply worry for my bride-to-be. I cannot become king without you, you know.
I'm fully aware of that.
Kings need a crown, not a dunce cap.
My, all those years your parents likely spent teaching you to speak. For you to spit out drivel like this.
Sorry, I get a little cranky when people insult my friends for no good reason, and obviously are using them to further their own goals.
Oh, gosh. Couldn't be further from the truth. I want nothing more than the prosperity of my people. And I have many wonderful plans to put that into place once our great king is ready to put down his crown. I do have a large void to fill, and I am ever so eager to fill it. Oh, and friend? Make no mistake, my boy. Irene is not your friend. Irene's mind is merely being altered by her human body. So, she thinks she has some sort of fondness for you when she obviously does not. When she transforms back to normal, she'll simply thank you, if even that, and fly off without another word.
My blood boiled. This dragon was a complete fucking jerk. He disrespected me, my friends, and even his own future wife. How can any dragon look up to this guy? How can Irene love him? Irene stepped forward, looking up at him.
I still have authority over you for now. And I demand you cease such unnecessary verbiage.
You're softening up quicker than I thought. Very well, if that is your wish. I suppose you want to see your father now, is that right?
The hell else do you think we're here for? Bed and breakfast?
Your own execution if you keep up that attitude. Very well, if you will follow me, I will show you to King Odavid's throne room.
Asshole dragon turned around and led us inside of the tree. I was expecting wooden walls and poor lighting, but it couldn't be further from the truth. The interior was well lit with what seemed to be lightning bugs flying around, adding extra atmosphere, with clean stone lining the walls and flooring. The architecture was impeccable. He led us down a long hallway in a circular closed room. He tapped his foot and suddenly a floor began to rise. I would have been in shock, but the fact was, Elorium was so crazy already that this felt like a minor thing, to be honest with you. This elevator, I guess I'll call it, led us past several doors before we reached the top. A doorway opened and we followed him through it. Another long hallway, and at the end, there was no door, but a curtain
with many dragons guarding the hallway and the curtain. Asshole dragon walked to the end and nodded to the guards, and they let him through. He opened it for Iron, and after she walked through, he closed it behind him. I rolled my eyes and flew through the curtain. On the other side, a stupidly massive throne room with many dragons of all shapes and sizes and colors along the wall, but the dragon in the center, the largest dragon, had the most commanding presence of all. I recognized him somehow. He was a great white dragon with 6 horns as opposed to the normal 2, and great, slightly tattered wings behind him. He had piercing, royal blue eyes that seemed to stare through us. His expression was much like Revelio's, almost judgmental and awe-inspiring, as if you wanted to bow before him and swear your loyalty to him. Wait, I did recognize him. He was from that vision after Ivan killed Terra. The last one, the one that reached out to her. Was it her father all along? There was no real throne, just a raised part of the ground where the dragon curled up much like a dog, but it was incredible. The room had an open sky with leaves that blocked the sun above us, and a bright lavender glow that graced the room. Iron stepped forward.
Father, I'm home.
These 3 humans escorted our princess back home. No doubt Iron likely played more a part in her return than they, but I suppose I was feeling benevolent and thought it was worth mentioning.
This guy's a real jerk. He's in love with the mayor more than Iron, I bet.
Thinking about being a dragon slayer myself at this point.
Grab my sword when he's not looking and go for it. The king's eyes whipped to us with fury and seriousness behind him. He definitely heard us just now. We gulped and straightened up. His nostrils flared as he slowly turned back to Iron, keeping his eyes on her. He slowly rose from his seat, stepping down from his podium, and walked to the center of the room.
Revelio, leave us. Are you certain, my king? Surely these humans don't deserve to be in your presence. I shall remove them so you can speak to your daughter in peace. Leave us, all of you.
I sighed and turned to leave, motioning Edith and Phineas to follow.
Not you. Dragons, leave us. Allow me to speak with the humans and the princess in peace. That includes you, Revelio. As you wish, my king.
Revelio threw a side eye at me as he left the throne room. I threw him a nasty smirk as he left. The other dragons, however, bowed to all of us as they left the room. That was kind of a weird feeling. These higher order dragons bowing to us? Kind of cool, to be honest. After they all left, the king stared at Iron for a while longer before opening his mouth slowly.
Revelio, I will not tell you again. Go down to the bottom floor and stay there.
I heard an annoyed growl from the other side of the curtain and footsteps walking away. I heard the elevator go down and the dragon mumbling to himself on the way down. The sound stopped and a few moments of silence occurred. The king stared at her for a few moments longer before walking up to her and stopping, looking down. His eyes widened and he dropped to her level, quickly wrapping her up in a tight hug. Iron yelped, being swung around.
Oh, my daughter! My sweet, sweet daughter! What has happened to you? Where have you been? Are you all right? Have you been eating? Have you gotten sick? Why are you so small?
Father, please, not in front of my friend group.
Oh dear, my apologies, my daughter. I feared that you'd...
The king suddenly burst into tears and cried into Iron. Iron looked uncomfortable as she patted him on the head. All 3 of us were staring with wide eyes. When I thought of the king of dragons, who could have predicted such a
softy.
Oh, Father, please don't cry. It's quite embarrassing.
Is it? Embarrassing to show emotion, to show care for my only child? Why, I think not. You did eat okay, didn't you?
Yes, Father, I ate fine.
Don't tell me. You caught a cold, didn't you? Did you die?
What? Father, I am right here. How could I possibly be dead?
I don't know. Maybe humans get sick and die now. I haven't spoken to any in quite some time, you know.
Well, yes, they do, but they don't usually start getting up and walking again.
Nope. There are, in fact, necromancers that do exactly that.
Ha! What he said? Necromancers. Monsters of Necro. Dead raisers. Did that happen to you? Are you a member of the Walking Dead? Oh, please don't tell me. Please don't tell me I have to slay you.
The king burst into tears again. This guy was different. Way different from any king I've ever heard of. This massive, regal, white dragon, adorned in bracelets, amulets, jewels upon his horns, was sobbing at the very concept of his daughter being the slightest bit in danger. What a spacey creature.
Father, I am not a member of the Walking Dead. I cannot believe I just had to say that sentence aloud. Oh my. Father, please. We require your wisdom. I seek my original dragon form, and perhaps what you know could help us achieve that.
Yes, I will do whatever is possible and even what is impossible to help my beloved child. Tell me though, who is we?
Yes. These 3 humans behind me have given life, and in some cases limb, to see my safe return and to finish out the mission.
I see. Welcome, young squires, to Elorium. I thank you for the return of our crown princess, truly, but I know my daughter. She is someone who holds people accountable for their actions. I know that if someone were to do this to her, she would have them in her presence to right that wrong. So, which one of you...
Oblivion stepped forward, that stoic, serious expression returning. Fire briefly emanated from his nostrils.
is responsible for this?
We stiffened and stood up straight, sweat dripping down our brows. Oblivion stared at us intently, waiting for our response. Iron choked on her words for a moment and then spoke.
Mine, Father. It was my fault. I did this to myself. After our fight, I wanted to experience human life, so I cast a spell on myself with the intent to turn myself right back. It failed. I can't cast the spell. I got it wrong entirely. I was near a village, and these 3 brave heroes listened to my tale and agreed to help me save our kingdom. That's the only reason they're here. To help me.
Princess, you silly, foolish little girl of mine, how could you be so irresponsible?
I'm so sorry,
How could you be so irresponsible to lie to my face like that?
What?
Damn, he's so perceptive. She said that with such conviction that even I believed it. How did he know? Iron was right. This guy was wise beyond words.
I will ask again. Which one of you did this?
I did.
Alexander, no!
The other 2 backed away from me slowly. Thanks, guys. This massive,
powerful, wise dragon was staring at the stupid kid who turned his daughter into what he deemed a lesser race. This stupid kid that essentially cursed her, and he probably had the ability to kill me by spitting on me. And now I had to go against all my training, all my years of instincts, and my entire life of survival. I had to go against it all. And tell the truth. Somehow this was way scarier than lying.
You did this to my daughter?
Yes, King Odavid, it was my fault.
Explain yourself. This instant.
I was hunting for food, and I laid down a trap for a buck or a deer, and Iron flew low and ended up touching the trap, falling into it. We argued back and forth, and she saw a blade in my hand and requested that I kill her. Instead, I defied the princess's orders and cut the net and freed her. Later, she felt the need to repay that debt to me and save me from fighting that wizard over there. He casted a spell at me to turn me into a dragon. She flew in front of it, not knowing what the spell would do. Unfortunately, he stole the wrong spell and turned her into a human instead. Since then, she's demanded we accompany her, turn her back to normal, lest my city and possibly more get destroyed by your wrath. Along the way, Edith, that knight that's with us, who is also my best friend, came with us to ensure our safety. We've done everything in our power to protect her. I've cooked for her. I've even lost a hand in a fight because I was too slow to dodge the wind blade cast at me. It's been roughly 6 months. Anyway, this is all my fault. If I had just done as the princess asked me to do half a year ago, she'd be reincarnated as a new dragon, and I would have never gotten into her this mess, and I have no idea how to shut up. So if you have anything to say, now would be a great time to start.
I was just stammering at this point. I couldn't shut up. I bowed politely to him.
I'm really sorry, King Odavid. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. I screwed up, and I screwed up Iron's life and the city's future. So, that being said, please do not set me on fire.
Iron stared at me fearfully, the other's eyes darting back between me and Odavid.
It's my fault too.
I looked at Edith, as did the rest of us.
Truth is, I should have been paying better attention to Xander that night. And I ran away from the battlefield because I cared more about following orders than my best friend's life. I will regret that for the rest of my life. If I had gone with him, there would have been no need for Iron to swoop in. We would have beaten the mage.
And it's my fault as well. I'm the one who cast the damn spell after all. If I had just read the book and not rushed through it, I would have simply left Iron as a dragon and nothing would have happened.
I thought you said it would have melted his bones.
What? No, it would have... Oh, right, yes. But for dragons, it does nothing. No worries.
Odavid looked at the three of us carefully, his stoic eyes trained on us. An entire eternity passed by, silence engulfing the room before we heard something. A deep guttural laughter? We looked up at Odavid, whose lips had spread into a crooked smile. It was as though he was biting his lip, trying not to laugh. And then, suddenly, he cracked. He closed his eyes and howled in laughter, falling over to his side and cackling maniacally. Iron looked at her father, shocked. I can say with certainty, we did the same. He was rolling back and forth, still laughing, before he tried to speak.
Oh, a deer! A buck! A transformation spell! A net! Oh, you three are the absolute worst at your jobs that I have ever heard of!
Thank you?
Oh. Tell me, what are your names?
My name is Ben Dover, and his name is...
Bad survival tactic, Edith.
Right. My real name is Edith Toombs.
Phineas, the evil! It's a good name.
I'm Alexander Roy, esteemed chef and one-handed swordsman. Well, I was before your daughter took my sword.
Yes, for your safety.
Still hers.
Alexander Roy. That is your name, yes?
Yes, sir.
You, boy, who were told by my daughter to kill her, to do as she asked, and ultimately to hide the fact that you are responsible for this, defied that order, to take responsibility and protect my daughter.
Odavid rose to his feet and approached me. He looked down at me, and it was at this moment I realized how goddamn small I really was. He slowly and gracefully lowered his head and closed his eyes.
I humbly thank you for your devotion to her.
Whoa, no need to thank me. I mean, the girl's kind of my friend. Odavid opened his eyes and raised his head slightly, meeting my gaze at eye level.
What did you say?
I said no need to thank me, sir.
No, boy, the other thing. The final thing you said. The girl is your friend.
Father, what he means is...
Shh, let the boy speak, child. Alexander?
Well, yes, we've protected each other plenty of times, and we kind of hang out a lot.
Do you care for her? Truly?
Yeah, of course I do. She's my friend, after all.
And her being a princess, does that matter to you?
I would care about her the same if she was a dragon, human, princess, or serf. She can be a brat at times and really demanding, but deep down she's a good kid. I like being around her. Iron looked at me softly, and then looked away when I met her gaze. Odavid rose to his feet and reached his arms out to me. I winced. Was he about to kill me for speaking too casually about Iron? Shit. To get all this way just to get... hugged? He wrapped his arms around me and swung me around tightly in his arms, like the same way he swung Iron around. I wailed in fear as he was laughing to himself happily.
My daughter has a friend! Someone who loves for her! Oh, happy day!
Whoa, put me down!
Yes, sorry, there you are. Ah, what an occasion. This calls for a celebration of sorts.
What do you mean, love? I'm not in love with her.
Oh, don't be so embarrassed. Who wouldn't date on my beloved daughter? I mean, look at her, even in human form. I'd dote on her, wouldn't you? She's very doteable.
Father!
Ah, pish posh. Come now, Iron. I'm only speaking to my future son-in-law here. There's no worries to be had.
Whoa, what? Son-in-law?
Please kill me now. There is a god out there listening to me. Strike me down where I stand.
Just promise me that after the wedding, you will agree to bear me many grandchildren. I've never had any, and after 1,400 years, I think it's a high time I had a few.
Alexander, there is still time. Find something sharp and stab me in the neck, and maybe this nightmare will be over with.
With Iron? I shrunk in my spot, my face red. Iron's face was even redder than mine. So this is what she meant by worse than death. I was quite inclined to agree, especially after imagining that night. It gave me goosebumps, and I'm not sure which kind it was, and I frankly didn't want to think about it to find out at that moment.
Wait a minute. I thought you said I wasn't allowed to have friends.
I told you they force you to act irrationally and they could damage your judgment.
Yes, exactly.
I was preparing you for that. Of course I told you you couldn't have friends, but Iron, you're a young woman. It is in your nature to defy your parents' word.
What? You expected me to defy you?
Of course I did. What do you think I'd do? Expel them? Kill them? Nonsense. I wanted you to have friends. I wanted you to experience defying your guardians, because that's what children do. I wanted to give you as much of a childhood as I could, child.
certainly a punch to the gut. Tiberius.
There were things I told you not to do with the intent for you to defy me, and having friends was one of them. But fighting for others, putting yourself in harm's way was not. I see that your horns have uncurled. That can only mean you fought, correct?
Yes.
Very well. You will tell me what happened in detail later.
Oh, hold on. You're not angry? Even though it was for someone else?
Angry? Not at all. Disappointed, maybe, but I'm just glad you're home. With company, no less. I'm just surprised you found a husband before you found friends. Well done!
Father, please! Please stop talking! Please just stop talking!
If I may, King. Even though embarrassing, these two are a favorite pastime of mine. I do believe we were here for your wisdom, not wedding plans.
Our goal from the beginning was to return Irene to her original form, and that hasn't changed. Tell us, is there anything we can do to heal Irene of her humanity and return her to her natural state?
Odavid straightened his back and looked at us nobly again. His eyes had so much wisdom and experience behind them.
The pool of life.
The pool of life? What in the world is that?
It is what the name implies. A small body of water filled with ether and magical healing properties. It heals you of any illness and grants you clarity. It heals humans of their humanity and grants them immortality. They can still die, mind you, but illnesses, age, none of that truly affects them. However, in Irene's case, since she's part dragon, it would heal her of her humanity and return her back to her original dragon state.
We don't want to go for some long shot. With all due respect, of course.
No offense taken, Mage. Of course, after half a year on this journey, you'd have some reservations, but there are about 400 possible ways to turn her back. This is the only one where the failure chance is absolutely zero.
That sounds like a damn promising lead. Can you tell us where to find this pool?
I would love to. If I knew where it was.
What? Father, I thought you knew everything!
Ha! Child, you idolize me far too much. I know things, but not nearly everything. Why, I wouldn't know where to begin looking for it.
Damn it. To have come all this way just to feel no closer than when we started.
I didn't say there was no way to find out.
Huh? What do you mean?
I do not know where the pool is. But what I do know is of someone who does.
That's the next best thing. So, who's the guy?
It's a lady, actually.
Who is this woman, and how can we find her?
Her name is Wokekt. She is a renowned seer in the town of Jazzblack.
I'm like 99% sure those names aren't real.
Oh, but they are. Goblins are rather strange when it comes to names, aren't they?
Goblins! Great! My future is in the hands of a goblin shaman!
What's so surprising about that? Goblins are intelligent creatures, make no mistake. It's how they've survived for so long.
So, how exactly can we find this town? It's not on any maps, I assume.
Correct. Jazzblack is only found if it wants to be found. I can send you to the outskirts of the town with a map I will supply to you, but your best chance at finding the actual town itself is by finding a scout and convincing him. Or forcing him to take you there.
I suppose we have no time to waste. Shall we?
We shall. Thank you, Father. Please inform Revelio that the wedding will go as scheduled when I return.
As long as you're not married by the time you return, you mean?
That's it. I'm leaving! I'm leaving now! Goodbye!
Say hello to Dosvalgard for me, and thank you as well.
Let's go, everyone. We're headed to Jazzblack. What a strange destination.
Oh, and son-in-law.
Yes? He winked slyly at me, just like a dad would.
If you try anything funny on my daughter...
You'll kill me, sir?
No! Tell me how it goes when I see you again.
I'm leaving sir.
Good journey to you, squires, and make sure to wear socks and a coat iron. It'll be winter soon.
Oh, gods, does he ever stop?
Eat 3 meals a day, don't go to bed too late.
We followed Ira to the elevator, down to the first floor and out the front. We stood on the steps and exhaled.
Alright, everyone. We have a destination once again, and a mission. By any means necessary, we get that shaman to assist us. Before we leave, we need some materials for the road. Phineas, I require your assistance with this task. You're best for shopping for reagents. I need materials for potions and spells, and most importantly, the dragon brand.
You can count on me, Princess. I will absolutely find any fragrance you need.
No, it's reagents.
I said that. Fragrance.
Reagents!
Fragrance!
Oh, just come on already!
Edith and I watched them walk off as we stood next to each other, taking it all in. We started chuckling to ourselves at how ridiculous this journey has been.
This is so weird.
So weird.
I mean, we're on a floating city.
We got here on the back of a dragon,
We helped kill high-level mages.
while bunking in a shitty inn,
And now we just got done meeting a king.
who bowed to us and thanked us for our work.
And now we finish escorting a princess to a magic pool of water that will turn her back to normal.
Not to mention that there's the fact her dad wants you to marry her.
Okay, yeah, we can leave out that part.
Come on, but that's the best part! What a regal and beautiful bride to be you have, Xander.
Shut up!
Yes, of course. I shouldn't ignore orders from the Crown Prince.
Shut up!